Hey everyone, in this video it's the walkthrough of how I made my Komurasaki cosplay for the NCC preliminary. You will see it will be a lot of voiceover, but you can also just enjoy the videos as it is. Let's start with the two kimonos. For the base, I have a red one which was sleeveless and I made countless of them. Is it traditional? Is it historical? Not at all, it was only for comfort and what I had on hand actually. For the white one, same thing as the red, but with sleeve this time, because during the show I was making a small reveal to show the white one, but the white kimono had a twist. In the back, I added some gold leaf with the logo of Iori's family, so it was just a small wink to the show and for all the fans. This costume is a lot of kimono, so this one is the darker flower kimono, so same as the other. It's regular kimono. This one I interface the fabric. I also dye the lining because it was the one what we see a little bit more, and also an ink for regular kimono that have a gradient on the inside. For the pattern of the flower, I cut some pattern with my Cricut and painted all of them, doing also a small gradient inside. It was a long process, but it's kind of the stuff I enjoy the most in cosplay making. Small detail that you can see on this clip is I also painted big flower in the bottom that was more tone on tone, so it was more subtle, and I love this detail on that kimono. Let's go with the Uchikake, which is kind of a big Aori kimono for Oiran. So I dye the lining, I interface the fabric because it was not stiff enough, it was so flimsy, classic. And why I use silk, because I really want to do silk dye for the gradient on the top. I think most of my budget goes into this Uchikake because I try to do the gradients so many times. Also, all of the as the same as the dark flower red kimono, I made some pattern with my Cricut and I painted all the flowers one by one. It was a tedious work. Why I didn't use vinyl? It's simple. I really want to be more traditional and I would not have the kind of layer that is with vinyl. White is probably the most demonic color ever. It's so hard to have it something opaque. And this flower, I decided to improve a bit of the design to be more complex, like you can see on kimono. So I make a line, the outline actually on each flower one by one. I really enjoy this process, seriously. It's quite weird, but it's fine. Also, to make it a little bit more extra, I had 5 sequins in each of the golden flower. I really love the look it shines on stage, and I simply really love it. Also, at bottom of the Uchikake, you have kind of filling just to make it more heavy looking. It was tedious because it's a long kimono to fit with this huge Geta that you're gonna see later. They're huge. This part was probably the hardest part of this costume. The obi and the musubi, which is the kind of bow that goes in the front. I try so many different ways to make it. I add the line, you can see here, by hands. I tried different options. It's what I show right now, and it was countless of hours that I had to destroy and remake, but it's part of the cosplay journey and it's the section I like. So at the end, I simply make the bow with a different fabric and just put them on top of each other. And because my plan of making lightweight didn't work, and actually I think it looked way more, it looked better this way. And on this clip you see that I had some boning for the obi because it have to hold the weight of the bow. So some boning inside, and I also make a mechanism to simply release during the show for the small reveal that I was doing. The peacock is my favorite part of this costume. So I simply start with doing a design in my embroidery machine to make all the feather of the peacock. It was a long process, different size, and putting in 3D something that it's only in 2Ds that you can see on one drawing was kind of hard because some stuff doesn't really work in real life. But I had a lot of fun with just working with our embroidery machine. It's not something I do often, but it's probably something I will do way more in the future. Like I said, the peacock is in so many different pieces. So this part is I'm beading the inside of the flower that will go on top of the other section. Also was trying different inside of flower that I don't know what is the name, and I have a lot of fun. It was just a lot of creativity and surprising trying to get rid of some of the stuff I have since years. The thing that I tried for this costume for the first time was gold work, and I love it. I was trying to figure out for years a design, actually a costume that I could add some gold work, and Komurasaki was the best shot at it. And I think I fall into the rabbit hole of gold work. It was so much fun. I want to do it again. Also, a technique that I discovered is like kind of painting embroidery. I make kind of wood stuff to just put the body of the peacock, and it's simply doing embroidery with different color and in different length. So I have some padding for it to be like higher than the rest because it's the body, it's supposed to be on top. So here you can see that I go with my two ends and put different color after one another, and I just kind of like doing some small stroke like you do in painting, but you do it with thread. At the end for the peacock, I add a outline of black just to make it pop a little bit. The beak and some other white section on it are actually fake leather because it looks way better. Oh, and this one is the broccoli, we call it. It's kind of multiple knot, but I did it with yarn just to make it bigger. And you have others feather with also gold work, but it's another type of thread that I use for the gold work. Social media is your best friend. You get inspired by many other creators for how they see some pieces. And everything was tagged down into a pieces of interfacing with fabric and military trim that I had used on the obi. Guess what? It's another feathers, but make it again another way. I love this peacock with all the many technique I've used on it. And I had to put interfacing on the silk for the big talbor, like the big peacock thing, because with so many things on top of it, it needs to be sturdy. The last part was taking each pieces and figuring out the way I'm gonna put it all together. All of the feathers are machine stitches, but need to be placed in a certain way that you're gonna see the thread, because doing it by hand would have killed me probably. So you can see me sitting on the floor and attaching all the gold work by hand because you are not able to put it with a machine. And a good press is always needed on a costume. For the flower, I had some flower from my previous doll cosplay, so I just destroyed them and put it back with the inside of the beading that I did on felt. There we go for the hair accessories. Actually, I have two types of flower inside of the wig. This one, I did a Japanese technique of stitching some fabric together. The other rows are simply rows that I had and dyed them. I also make the cord with a Japanese technique of kind of folding thread, and it's something I've used for multiple costumes, so it was just easier. It's just really long. For the hair stick, I 3D model and 3D print them to cast them, so I had to make a mold for it. I also had to paint all of the beads. That was not really the right shade of gold to fit with the rest of the gold I had, so I paint them, and it was time to cast the hair stick. Even with some time in the vacuum machine, I still had some bubbles, and yellow is probably as demonic as white paint. Yellow reacts a lot with resin or other component. I should have known with the stuff we did for WCS with my partner Sammy. So some pieces was really wobbly, so I had to remake them multiple times. So at the end I simply paint them in gold because the translucent didn't work really well with the rest of the hair accessories. I also had to hand drill some hole on the stick because I really want to look more natural and get out of the hair stick than just being glued behind for the beading. I also decided to put a pattern inside of this hair stick and paint them with damage paint for his Warhammer stuff. For the big red hair comb, I tried, I think, 3 times to make it. You will see I paint a pattern, but at the end I just put a logo in the back because the first version was too big, the second version was also too big, so I had to make it again and again. But it's okay, it's part of the process. For the cord, I simply hand sew it and added a kind of green ribbon that you are not gonna see, but it's mainly sewed to the wig, so it will kind of never move. Also, it was just a process of adding every pieces together and add it to the wig. Some part are sew, some part are glue, because it was just easier and actually sturdier. It's kind of surprising that hot glue can be sturdy for some stuff. The wig is probably the second biggest element of this costume. I tried to make a hard shell, but at the end I went with a soft hard shell with kind of made out of felt. It was more comfortable for me. For the big section on the back, I use EVA foam and quilt batting. It's extremely lightweight and kind of really sturdy too. In some clip you can see that I tried different stuff. I had a shape, a cross shape in the back to be sure that will hold the weight of everything. I also paint the kind of quilt batting just to be the same color as the hair. It's quite an important step. And the rest was crimping all of the hair. I used simply Tomiku's wig. It was the right color and I have a lot of hair to work with. And after that I made what I call the ugly layer, which is the crimped hair weft and start gluing to the base just to have a really good core of hair. For the front, I decided to do ventilating. It's a thing that I love to do, and for me it's really easy. So I had a ventilating section and do it. At the end, I did what I call the beauty layer, which is hair that's not necessarily crimped, that don't have a lot of texture, but it's again glued to the base. for the final, I hand sew everything to the base. It was a really tedious process because it's not a really normal shape of wig. And I add some hair just on the kind of back bow just to be more prettier, even if everything will be covered with hair accessories. The mask is probably the second thing I struggle the most with, so it's really important for me to show you all of the stuff that I tried to do that didn't work. I tried to make it by hands with sculpting it and with the help of damage to make the shell, tried to cast it. Sadly, my plastic, I think it was too old and react pretty badly, so I was not able to paint it at all. The primer was not able to kind of take a shape. So at the end, I 3D modeled it and 3D print it with my face embedded inside, and I simply sand it and paint it by hands with a really shiny coat and with a lot of end sanding, because that's how you make stuff really shiny. Also at the bottom, like inside, I had a stick so I can hold it with my mouse during the skit, so not having anything to tie in the back, and because I don't see a lot with that mask, you know. Geta, the other monstrous element of that costume that I have failed multiple times. I tried to make them in wood, but they are like around a meter high, so it was not really the best idea. So at the end, I 3D modeled them and 3D print them. I had a PVC pipe inside, and they are quite lightweight, which is quite surprising with the fact they are so huge. They are so huge, I had to print them in 3 different pieces. Multiply that with 3 because I had 3 kind of section on each Geta. The most tedious part was again the sanding. It's such a big pieces that I had to use a tool to help me. And I also went with some gesso to prime them, because each section, like to do one Geta, it was one can of primer, which is kind of expensive now, so I went with gesso. At the end, I paint them with a can, and I also added a varnish by hands to be sure that they are extra shiny. I also made a cushion to go in the bottom because that's how Getas for Oren are made. Quite surprisingly, they are comfortable. For the red section, it's some red fabric I had left from the kimono, stuffing inside, and they are glued permanently to the Geta. I decided to add a shamisen, which is kind of a Japanese guitar, to this costume because it's an element she used often in the series. So I started making it out of wood. I really like working with wood since I did it for the medicine setter, but compared to the medicine setter in Mononoke, most of the work was by hand just to have a good curve, and I didn't have the tool to do it properly, so it was all by hands. And sometimes I use my feet to hold the stuff. Yes, damage was quite concerned of not hurting myself, but I still have all my toes and finger. Woodworking is a lot of sanding, so don't forget to wear your mask. It's really important. Do my shamisen is functionable? Not at all. It's just for the look, and I kind of love working with the wood. I think it gives a really nice look to it. For the key, I tried to make it out of wood too, but I start with a cube and I end up with a cube. It was supposed to be a different shade, so I ended up making it out of 3D with other elements that at the end I needed to make it out of 3D elements. Did I told you that woodworking is a lot of sanding? Yes, I sand it so much. The top is made out of yay foam covered with fabric because, like I said, it's not functionable. Shamisen, I don't have the knowledge to do that. I don't have the right wood to do it. Can see here I also have some button that is actually real button that just make them for the decoration because some shamisen have decoration near the key. For the color, I use a varnish and stain. I think I put 4 coats in total. The shamisen is making 2 pieces, so it's easier to travel with it, which I would probably never travel with that costume. They have so many pieces. I also tack down everything just to be sure that it's really sturdy and that will not gonna move. Never. I also add different element to it that I didn't show because I was quite frustrating, mainly with the knot at the end. You don't have a lot of tutorial on how making a shamisen knot. At the end, I love this costume. I love everything I've learned from it, and I'm really proud of this costume. I would probably wear her at some convention, but she's quite heavy. She's more heavier than what she looks, even if it's mainly just fabric, but it's so many layers. So I hope you have enjoyed these videos, and I hope that I'm gonna do more of making of like this in the future. So see you next time.